Hello all. Today we're going to be talking about the Triumph Speed Triple and getting rid of that ugly rear section that it comes with. For some reason Europe thinks that's the way to go. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to get rid of, yes, this and absolutely this. We're going to need a few tools, very few tools as a matter of fact. We're going to need an 8mm socket, a 5mm Allen screw, and a 12mm socket. First thing you want to do, take the bike, get it up on a stand, get it safe. For me, I'm an older guy. I always put something under there, that way when I drop something I can see what I've dropped. Silver screw on a white driveway, never works for me. When you get done with that, what you're going to need to do is take your seat off, put it somewhere safe. Use a pad to put things on. Don't want to tear things up. It's never good when you damage the thing that you're trying to repair. Now you're going to identify 3 screws. 2 of them are black. One of them is silver. The center one is a silver 5mm Allen screw, and the other are Phillips heads. You take the 2 Phillips head screws out. They're going to reveal 2 plastic pins that hold that in. You pull those pins after you get the screws out. You can just pull them out with your hand. The Allen screw just comes out. It's not very tight. Very easy. And when you get those 2 pins out and the screw out, what you're going to do is there's going to be a compartment door, and that door is what hides all of your wiring. Now you're going to pull that compartment door off, and once you lower it down, it's going to reveal your wiring harness. And this is what it looks like right here. There's the wires. You can see 4 12mm sockets and a wiring harness. Those wiring harnesses are very simple. Just unplug them all. 4 are to blinkers, 1 is to your tail light, and 1 is to the light that lights up your license plate. Label at least one of your blinkers and you can figure out which one the other is. Once that's done, pull this little piece out here. You're going to use it later, that little clip right there, and you can see the 4 12mm bolts. And we're going to pull those bolts right now. And when you pull those bolts, that's all that's holding the tail tidy on. Be careful when you lower it down not to tear anything up and bang anything up. Next, you're going to remove all of your body work on the rear end. There's 5mm Allen screws, 2 on each side and then 1 in the back. When you pull those 2 out on each side, there's 2 different lengths. There's a short one and a long one. Just take note of where they go. I think it's the short one's in the front. I think the long one's in the back. When you pull these side pieces off, there's a little rubber bong in there that kind of holds things in. Just gently kind of pull on it. It'll pop right out. There's the 2 screws. Now everything's loose. There's the little piece on the bodywork I was telling you about. Next thing that's going to come out is the 5mm Allen screw. It's going to remove that last tail piece and it'll come right out. Then you pull straight back, the tail piece comes right off. And then that leaves 2 8mm bolts which hold your tail light on. You remove those 8mm bolts and you should have a nice neat stack of parts like this. Remember, don't scratch anything up. Always very important. Now we pull out our new tail light. This is the Motivations integrated tail light. It's a great product so far. Seems to be working for me. The wiring harness is pretty self-explanatory. I am not an electrician by any stretch of the imagination, but it's pretty much plug and play. So just line up the plugs that work and plug them in. You'll have blinker plugs for the right and left hand side. You'll plug those directly into the wiring harness. There's no cutting, no splicing that needs to be done. If you are like me and kind of a stickler for neatness, once you get everything connected, you'll start utilizing a little electrical tape and heat shrink and just keep everything nice and neat. Don't want any shorts or have a problem when you're on the road and have to disassemble everything again. This part of the job is one that no one sees except you, but it makes all of the difference in the world in the longevity of your repair and just in the overall satisfaction of knowing you did it right. The harness that they give you, that they provide for you, is pretty long, so you could cut some wire out of it if you chose to. I chose not to. Plugged everything in, turned the motorcycle on. First try, comes right up. Brake light for the front brake, there it is. Back brake, and then check the blinker, left blinker, and followed by the right blinker. And if everything is working, now you can start bolting things back together. I put a little Loctite on these. I'm not sure that it's necessary, but I'm kind of paranoid about things that you can't really torque down heavily. So I put some blue Loctite on these. They screw right in. Snug them up. You don't have to kill them. I don't have a torque spec on those. I'm sure there is one. If you're interested, you can buy a manual and find it there. But pretty easy to just kind of eyeball these things. You're not going to be killing it. I kept the safety plastic on the light because I didn't want to damage it or scratch it up. Hand tightened it, then I just got my socket wrench and just kind of snug things up. Okay, when I finished that, it was time to continue trying to electrically tape things. I realized, of course, every time you do a job, what? Out of tape. Okay, I found some more, went back to it, kept straightening things up. Didn't take long, maybe 5-10 minutes of this, just trying to get everything organized and neat. I do like things being proper. If I was to criticize my work, I would say at this point what I could have done better is possibly go back and cut some of those wires out so I didn't have quite so much. But the compartment that Triumph provides you up under there is plenty of room. Now this is the actual tail tidy itself. We've got the integrated tail light in there. Now this is the LED light that goes to the tail tidy. It pops right through the center hole here of this piece of machined metal here. Feels pretty heavy, pretty durable to me. Goes right through. I put a little Loctite on there. Again, I can't torque these down super crazy. There's a lot of vibration back there, so I'm going to go ahead and put a little Loctite on there. Get that going. Once that's moving on, press those wires through the center hole, tighten the screws up, and you are good to go there. Then you have the other section of the wiring harness that hooks into your harness on your motorcycle. Again, it's plug and play. All you'll do is make the connections between the harness that they provide and the light, and you just clean that up. I taped it, heat shrunk it, made it look pretty nice. Want it to look good just in case anything is exposed. Now when I got back to the back of the bike and I plugged everything up, I want to make sure once again everything's working. Make sure that license plate light is working, and it was. Everything worked well. This is where I ran into my first real snag. As I began to tighten the Motivations Design tail tidy into place, I realized it was going to put an undue pressure on the main wires that were coming back from the blinker and the integrated tail light, and I didn't like that. I don't know that it would damage anything, but I certainly wasn't willing to risk it. So I got a couple of washers, and there again some more Loctite. And what I did is I would put the screw through the bottom, and then I would put the two washers on the top. And that will provide a little bit of a gap, and that's just enough for that wire to pass above the tail tidy and into that compartment without squeezing it. Holding those washers on top as I'm doing it by myself, all I did is I used a little masking tape, little painter's tape type tape to hold the screws in as I would press them all four up, because you wouldn't be able to get your hand up in there. So once you get that done, and it's just a little bit of prep work, it doesn't take very long, maybe 5 minutes. And I got all the bolts taped into place. I put the washers on top, and then I pressed the tail tidy up in. I did not record me putting those in, although it was first try, not a problem. The 4 bolts went right in. At this point, I pull the plastic off the light and start reinstalling the bodywork. Exactly opposite as to what it was. It just goes right back in place. Very, very simple. All of the 5mm Allen key screws. That's all there is to it. Then you put your compartment door on there and tidy up your wires, and put the 2 black plastic screws back in place, and put the silver or stainless steel 5mm Allen screw back in place, and you are finished. And it looks absolutely great, and everything is working wonderfully. Well, this concludes the installation of the Motodynamic's Fender Eliminator kit and integrated tail light for the Triumph Speed Triple. Hope you enjoyed it. If you decide to do it on your own, hopefully this will relieve a little bit of your stress and make the job a little easier. I'll see you next time. If you like the video, click likes, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel for additional posts. Have a good one. We'll see you.